Hello, everybody, and good morning. So, last time somebody pointed out to me that there is a very obvious list that we have not yet done, so we're gonna go ahead and get on that mess right now, in which, yeah, sure, we did Knight of Lodis, but we sure as hell didn't do the emblems. So naturally, they're one of the most notable features of that game, so we gotta go get this thing done. So I'm gonna go through these in order that they're listed on the tacticsogre.com site specifically, because a lot of them have some very specific different effects. So I want to make sure that we don't miss anything. All right, so going down the list here, the very first one we've got Blood Rain. You get that for getting 25 kills, and basically any enemies within three panels get a morale drop. Relatively easy to get for many characters, easily an S tier right there. Basically, most of your decent fighters or anything really should probably have this before the end of the game. It's not a freakishly high number. In fact, it's funny because many of the emblems in this actually reference other games in the series. This particular one is basically the Terror Knight. So there is no Terror Knight in this game, but functionally speaking, you can turn anyone into one with this emblem. It's basically the same requirement. I believe it was 30 in SNES Lucht. But in this one, it's 25, and then you give a morale penalty to anybody nearby. So pretty fantastic there. Alright, so next one is Dragon Scale. You get this for killing 5 dragons. It opens up Dragoon, if that's what you're looking for. However, they permanently have a harder time persuading any units. Now, on the site, it specifically says that they have a harder time persuading beast units. So I'm not sure if they meant to put dragons there or not. But I feel like this one's probably a C tier. It's a bit of a pain to get a hold of, but it does unlock the Dragoon. So that's pretty awesome there. Not to mention it's kind of just like a little badge of pride there for whatever unit that gets it, because they actually managed to kill 5 dragons, and that's actually what makes it a little bit annoying, because during the story, usually if you're trying to go for a quick Dragoon unlock, the fastest way is to actually go the A route and then go do the Orson fight, and then you do a repeat fight on that same map. As far as I'm aware, that's the fastest way to actually unlock the Dragoon, but yeah, they are an absolute pain to fight at low levels, so there we go. So we'll just put that there. Next is Animal Hunter. It's very similar. If you get it for killing 5 beasts, and the success rate of talking to animals is reduced. So that would be this one over here. I feel like it's an E tier. It's a badge of pride, so it can't quite be an F tier. But there really is no practical good effect off of getting it. So it's not one of the ones that's explicitly just there to troll you, but you know, at least it's like, hey, look, they killed 5 griffins. Oh man, what a hardcore psycho over here. All right, next up we got Exorcist. Exorcise 5 undead, and they give a morale drop to all undead within 3 panels. So I feel like that's kind of a D tier. There really aren't too many undead in the game, so to actually get this, it's a little bit of an achievement. I feel like most undead are easy enough to deal with, so you don't necessarily need it that much, but you know, it's a cool thing to have. It's not really going to give you too much. Morale drops on undead are, well, I mean, again, it's a unit you don't see too often. So typically, you know, it's nice to have, but you probably won't be going out of your way to get it. Alright, next is Self-Preservation. It's for killing an enemy with a counterattack, and you can even do this in training. So all counterattack damage is raised. Absolute S tier. This is an absolutely amazing one. Whenever trying to do a solo of this game, I pretty much always end up going for this right away. There is a way to get it before you even finish up the tutorial fights if you set it up right. It's a little bit RNG dependent, but it is possible. And basically a combination of this and some of the other emblems can create a situation where you can easily punch over 100 within the first few fights of the game. It is awesome. So yeah, good stuff there. Next up we have Berserk. Kill an enemy at full health in 1 hit. Training is just fine, and that extends your biorhythm period. I feel like it's kind of a C tier. It's a C tier because it has to be exactly in the middle. It's unclear just how effective that is. So if you didn't know, every unit in this game has a biorhythm period based on their birthday and luck and a few other things. Basically, it just goes up and down. It changes how all of their drops work, changes what kind of items they'll find, just kind of changes how their daily luck goes and stuff like that. It's a surprisingly complex system. There's a guy that literally wrote a freaking thesis on the thing. But yeah, it's not something that will explicitly be told to you. If you mouse over your character's portrait, it'll tell you vaguely what's going on. But yeah, this isn't really a kind of hard number you'll be able to find anywhere. So in general, this just means that they're more likely to, well, they're more likely to be getting better pools of items. Whether that's a good thing is unclear, because this also potentially means that you get stuck in the lower biorhythm periods as well. So kind of just alters how their stuff goes as far as that's concerned. All right, next up we got Arbitration. So this is persuade 5 enemies, and your persuasion success rate is increased by 30%. Personally, I love to use this one for as my starter emblem. Which, by the way, where is it on this list? Why am I not seeing it? But yeah, personally, I like using it as the starter emblem. I'd put it in A tier. Especially if you're going for like a recruit-only run or something like that. It's one of the harder ones to obtain, but it's very good if you want to get any particular unit. Bear in mind, this does pretty much work on everything in the game. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic emblem, just because of how hard it is to actually persuade units otherwise. You basically have to roll a 4 to 11% 5 times in a row to get it otherwise. And normally, I'd put that lower in there, but you can get this at the very start of the game, so, you know, it's there. Basically, it's there as yet another interesting nod to the original SNES version. Since the only character that can explicitly start off with Arbitration is your main character, everybody else can potentially earn it, but they're not meant to be recruiting anyone right off the bat. So, just a fun little reference there, gotta appreciate that. Alright, next we have one that's actually kind of a double, and there was only one icon that was saved for both of these. However, they mean opposite things for opposite genders. So we have the Broken Heart. This is for male characters. This is for failing to persuade female units 10 times in a row, which means your biorhythm period is down, so they just have overall worse luck throughout their life. That's that's just hilariously mean. And then we have Vixen's Whisper, which is for female characters, which unlocks the Witch class, and is for persuading a single male character. I'm going to put it in B tier because I just really appreciate the joke there. It's a real pain in the neck to obtain, and funnily enough, speedruns do require getting it. But yeah, it's just a funny one. Alright, next up we got Sniper, which potentially has more of a bonus than many folks may think. Where is this dang thing? Here it is. I'm going to put it in A tier. So basically, it's for 5 successful attacks in a row with a bow, and you actually get a 10 agility bonus off it. So this means that at the very start of the game, you can make yourself a really, really strong character by going for something like Miracle with your starting emblem. Then, for example, you go to training, you punch out a fairy in one punch. Well, actually, yeah, I mean, you keep punching a fairy till they're knocked out. You get Fist Fight. Then you set up a elemental difference between yourself and the fairy, have them take a over 100 damage punch. Suddenly you have a character that has gotten Berserk and War God, which we'll get to in a moment. Then you give them a bow in training. Since you can do this in training, you level up their... well, they don't really have to level up anything, do they? You get that emblem, so suddenly your accuracy is no longer an issue. And basically a combination of all this stuff potentially means you can go for that quick Dragoon unlock, because at that point you can punch out dragons, and after you've done that, you can basically get the best attack growths in the game well into Chapter 1. So it's... as much as that emblem is pretty modest and most enemies get it, that agility bonus is definitely amazing early on. Because it's strength and agility that are the big determiners over whether you can get some of the stronger classes, and yeah, that's the fastest way to raise it up early. Okay, next up we have Fist Fight. Easy S tier. Now you might say unarmed damage isn't too amazing. You know, I got this emblem, it made their damage like 40, so okay, I can do that with a longsword. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. This kind of changes your unit's fist attack power to about that of a claymore, actually. So yeah, you hit like a dang truck. If you started off with a strength preference main character, they can absolutely dominate with this thing. If you get it on archers, suddenly melee isn't even an issue for them. They're already going to be dodging everything, and then they can be punching out more damage than they can shoot with their bow. It's probably my favorite emblem in the game. It's just hilariously broken. Like it's funny because it's the right kind of broken, you know? Like it's really strong. It's really cheesy, but it's not like it's instantly killing everything. You really have to set some stuff up. Like that's why I love the balance of this game. Like everything's rubber banded to such an interesting degree that even if you make a really busted build, you still gotta work for it. But yeah, easily one of my favorite ones there. It's also fairly easy to get a hold of, too, because all you gotta do is set them to, you take off all their equipment, you just set them to automatically punch each other in train mode, and you'll usually wind up with a few units with fist fight. So yeah, you take out the ones that got fist fight, you leave everybody else to go do their punching. They usually will level up a couple times, but not enough to get one of the later emblems. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on. Let's go ahead and move on here. Alright, so you got Heavenly Spirits. This is for using healing magic 20 times, and it opens up the Priest. Yeah, it's a B tier. It's like, usually you're going to be using healers anyway. Usually they're going to be healing every fight. You really shouldn't be starving for this one for too long. And yeah, Priest is a pretty solid class across the board. Next we got Don Quixote. Have a character lose 2/3 or more of their health from a single counterattack, and they lose 10 intelligence for it. See, I would say this is an F tier. Okay, it's technically an F tier in terms of usefulness. It's an absolute S tier in terms of the joke. I love this emblem. You never want to get it. It's like, I mean, it's just a negative 10 to your intelligence, and the fact that you basically prove that you've completely screwed over that unit before. But it's just so good. It's so good. I love the joke on that one. So yeah. And by the way, for anyone that didn't know why it's called Don Quixote, or why the picture is that of a windmill, it's basically the legend of Don Quixote, in which it's a complete idiot that's traveling around the countryside trying to be a knight. And at one point, he decides that he's going to go fight a dragon, and then gets confused and decides to go fight a windmill. And yeah, gets himself injured in the process. So there we go. So we have the good old Don Quixote emblem. So yeah, it's not Don Quixote, as I always called it as a kid. Okay, we have... Alright, we have Centurion. This one is amazing. So, hang on, let me make sure I got the right one here, because, yeah, here we go. Centurion, another easy S tier. You get plus 20 strength for this one. You get it for have one character finishing off every single character in a stage. Like, this is that combo. Like, you get your Blood Rain, you get your Fist Fight, you get your Centurion, you use Mark of the Elite, you get Sniper, you get all of these stacked up, Berserk and stuff like that, you get all of them stacked up, and you can have an absolute fist monster very early in the game. Centurion, you can actually pull that off just with items during the Ivana fight, the very first one. Or I guess technically the second one, where you're fighting Cressida on the hill. Because, yeah, she'll keep healing you, and as long as you keep attacking her every now and then, she'll just be stuck healing the entire fight. She'll keep you healed up. And, yeah, you can continue abusing this over and over until you just punch her out close to the end of the fight. She'll still join you, because she's not meant to die yet. And yeah, absolutely fantastic emblem. Plus 20 strength is ridiculous. Alright, next we got Charisma. Another little reference to OB64, funnily enough. So this is when strength, agility, or intelligence become 350 or more. And I believe this is a combination of all of them together. So allies within 3 spaces have their mental gauge raised by 1. And in essence, it's a morale boost if you've reached the end of the game. You know, I guess it's an A tier. It's a good morale boost. You just kind of get it. Usually, any of your endgame power characters are already just going to have this available to them. It's basically the sign of, hey, you have finished off that character. They're awesome now. Good job. And it's one of those things where you don't really need it for something like making a Snapdragon, but it's a cool thing to have on your A team. Alright, next we got Bullet Pen Ace. Kill 20 people in training, and your increases your damage and training by 25%. It's a cool one. I believe that's this one right here. So yeah, this is one that you may potentially get if you like to do what-if scenarios when you were playing this game. Personally, I love just setting up all kinds of gladiator fights, so I had a whole lot of characters that wound up with bullpen ace. Yeah, pretty fun one to mess with there. Next we got Bogus Hero, the one you don't want to get. So gain 20 levels by training, and you can no longer perform critical hits. Yeah. It's an F tier, but again, it's one of those ones that they gotta appreciate the joke there. Alright, then we got Pen and Sword. Kill 4 enemies with magic and 4 enemies with physical attack. This is what you use to unlock the Warlock. I'd say probably C tier. You can usually get it without too much issue. It doesn't really have any other effect. It's just a class unlock. But you know, it's got a cool effect. It's a fun one to get. Then we got Gibe of the Fallen Angel. Have a cleric or priest kill 3 people with physical attacks. Your alignment moves 1 level towards chaos, as well as the fact that you permanently are not able to become a priest anymore. So that would definitely be an E tier. If you want to have an evil priest, sure. But yeah, it's kind of a very weird way to save yourself, like an Urn of Chaos or something like that. It's cool that it's there. I appreciate that it's there. There's just not really much reason to go get it. Alright, we got Lancer. Hit 2 people with a spear at the same time. Opens up the Valkyrie class. So just for the fact that it opens up the Valkyrie, and just the fact that it references a spear, easy S tier up there. It doesn't really give you much else, but, you know, it's got a spear on it. That makes it awesome. Next, we got Philosopher's Stone. Kill 2 or more units with 1 attack or special attack. Training is fine, and that opens up the Siren. So this one, again, opens up one of the best classes in the game. Very easy to get a hold of, so no reason not to go get it. Okay, then we got War God. Actually, I feel like that should be probably an A. I feel like we're kind of cheapening the S tier a little bit. Let's move those over to A. Right, so War God, do 200 or more damage with a physical attack. This ups strength by 30 and reduces intelligence by 30. If you're specifically looking for a strength build, like I said, that previous fist build I was talking about, so this means that right off the bat, where your average strength score is like 15 to 20, you can potentially boost it up to about like 80 or so, just off of the initial emblems that you can get, as well as your initial starting questions. That's beyond endgame material already, and you're well on your way to getting Centurion before the end of Chapter 1 at that point. So pretty solid there. I mean, granted, as far as getting, not Centurion, I mean Charisma. Funny part is, actually, as far as going for Charisma, it ends up balancing out because of that negative 30 it gives you. But yeah, if you've got a physical character, there's no reason to not at least attempt to get War God. You can do that fairly easily by just recruiting a level 1 fairy. Like I said before, just set up an elemental difference, have them punch out that fairy. And this is perfectly fine in training. Personally, when I was trying to set up a speedrun of it, I had a thing where I would just set them... there's a particular set of tiles that you can use to set it up in Formido. So you can essentially just get that for free, get rid of your extra space fairy, get your War God, get your Berserk and all of that kind of business. And yeah, pretty much have your character set up for maximum murder by the end of Formido. So really dang strong. Next we got Book of Initiation. Dodge 3 physical attacks in a row, and it opens up the Swordmaster. That's gotta go to B. The Swordmaster is really good. Usually just kind of get this one on its own, so not really anything too special. Next we got Miracle. Dodge an attack with 5% health remaining. That increases your crit rate and negates Bogus Hero if you happen to have it. Personally, this is the one that I like to start with the most. It's the hardest to obtain in a challenge run, just because, well, at least in an Iron Man run, like I like to do them. Just because, yeah, 5% is a pretty scary number, so you don't really want to be rolling the RNG at that point. But yeah, probably the hardest to obtain of the starting emblems, so there's that. I guess Embodiment of Desires is also a kind of a bit of a thing to get, but, I mean, it's also not incredibly useful. This one is. Like, it ups your crit rate. It's awesome. Okay, next up, Embodiment of Desires. Pick up 5 buried treasure, and your rank of treasure found is increased by 1. This is potentially abusable to get some really good items early on. If you didn't know, there's actually a end of game tier tile that potentially allows you to roll on the highest treasure table for a lost item on the ground. Right outside the Celia Church. So, like, directly in front of the front door, how there's a little shrub right before the stairs. In front of it, there's a grass tile, kind of between it and the cliff. If you burn off that grass tile and go on there with Embodiment of Desires, you can pretty much wind up with an endgame item right at the very start of the game. So yeah, just as soon as you unlock training, as soon as you unlock the shop and have a fireball spell in there, you can make that happen. So pretty solid there. Potentially a good way to start the game. Personally, I prefer Miracle, but hey, it's an option. Next, we have Archangel's Feather. You get this for being revived during a fight or training, and it opens up the Angel Knight. Basically, it means that if they die again, they get access to Angel Knight. Very easy to get, very strong potential class upgrade. I'll just plop that sucker over there. Alright. Next we have Cycle of Life. Have a ghost or zombie dragon reincarnated, or for Alphonse, receive the game over ending. Mental gauge of all undead within one space goes up. Well, I'll just put that in E tier. I guess D. Like, if you're using undead, great. Why are you using undead? Alright, next we got Mark of the Elite. Win a battle with 2 or less characters. Receive an automatic level up. Very useful for, so, like, it's only a one-time use thing, but it's very useful for setting up that trick I was talking about earlier. I feel like they specifically had that in mind. I'm putting it in B tier because it's really just a one-time bonus. But yeah, if you have everything set up right, it's just a nice little way to reference the MVP system from SNES Tactics Ogre. Next, we got Lucky Soldier. Go through a linked battle without taking damage, which increases your average biorhythm. I feel like this is probably easy enough to get a hold of, as well as, increasing biorhythm. It's not an amazing bonus, but it's there. It's kind of like Berserk, so I'm just putting it there. I feel like that plus Berserk could potentially give some interesting effects, but, I mean, I don't even know how you play multiplayer in this thing, so there's that. Yes, I know. I've been playing it for decades. I have no clue how to make multiplayer function. Guess I don't have another GBA laying around. I had my old SP that ended up selling around the point where they started getting weirdly expensive for some reason. Like, I was going and selling a bunch of old consoles, and like, I loved the old SP, but I knew it was on its last legs, and then I'm looking it up on my shop inventory, because I was doing a few online shops at that point. And they're like, yeah, people are buying these things for like $70. I was like, yeah, okay, bye. I've got my phone for this. I don't know what you want it for. I mean, it's probably for, like, speedrunners or something like that, but anyway, somebody really overpaid for that busted thing. They left me a happier review, so, alright, whatever works. Moving on, Mark of Valor. Complete the win condition of a linked battle. Amplitude of biorhythm is decreased. Okay. I mean, I guess D tier? I don't... It's unclear how useful that is. It's just, you managed to win a multiplayer fight. Whoop-de-doo-dah. Alright, next we got Veteran Soldier. Kill an enemy in a linked battle. Yeah, this one for comparison, and by the way, I might be getting these two confused. I don't feel like looking it up right now. This one is an S tier for comparison, okay? Right? So they get a kill in a multiplayer fight. Like, the other one, they had to survive, or they had to take no damage. This one, if they manage to get a single kill there, they get plus 15 strength, agility, and intelligence. What? It's, kind of nuts. Actually, no, I think it's probably... I think I'm mixing these two up. This looks like what that should be, if I were to guess. Alright. And then we got Relix's Emblem. Have a male character become all 14 classes, or for Alphonse, beat the game. They get a permanent... basically, their morale is permanently perfect, which is... Where's that emblem? Huh. Alright, we're going to combine we're going to combine a few of them here, because there's a couple of things I might have missed. So this one right here, the Graz Nye's emblem, is going to have to serve the purpose for relics and ripples. So yeah, relics, ripples, and Graz Nye. It's just basically the emblem that you get on one unit or another for becoming every class. It's a permanent morale boost, so I believe it's like 20% stats across the board. Solid A. It's a bit of a pain to get a hold of, but it's a nice little end game achievement. And then lastly, for some reason it wasn't on this list, but we have Knight's Certificate, which you get for getting counterattacked from the front 3 times, or counterattacking from the front 3 times. Unlocks the Knight. So, solid B tier. It's another unlock skill. Knight's pretty good across the board. You'll probably just get it automatically. I feel like it's about the same as Mark of Initiation, or Book of Initiation. And so, yeah, kind of feel like that's where all of these wind up going. So let me know what you guys think. I wish that this system would get reused. I'll probably never understand why they didn't exactly reuse it. However, like, you have to realize a lot of the Emblem system was basically consisting of references to other mechanics that they couldn't quite get into the game, which, interestingly enough, the PSP remake of Tactics Ogre does try to actually reference a lot of this stuff. Like, for example, with Blood Rain, the fact that, technically speaking, you have to level up your Terror Knight's passive, well, it's not really passive, but your action moves in order to make them stronger. Feels like it was a reference to that one. The fact that you've, how did it go exactly? So, for example, with something like self-preservation, you've got your counterattacks getting ranked up. The fact that Anatomy actually gets ranked up faster from using fists, so you can potentially get your fist fight effect that way. I mean, as far as Don Quixote, really isn't anything quite like that one, except for getting like a crit counter or something like that, in which case you just kind of have a bad day. Something like Centurion, well, you do get a big experience bonus for doing that. Something like War God, you get a bit of an experience bonus to your weapon skill if you do high enough damage. I'm not entirely sure what the numbers are. It feels almost random, but I feel like as soon as you start doing way higher damage, your experience rate goes up significantly. Something like the Miracle Emblem effect can be accomplished with just getting a bunch of luck items. Anatomy plus Recruit is basically Arbitration. Sniper is, well, I mean, just train bows, or just turn on True Strike, or True Flight. It's like all of those same effects are in there, pretty much. They're not as fun to achieve as the Emblem system. Like, this was, as far as I'm concerned, the most elegant way that they could have done it. The closest that I've seen to this being emulated again would be the way that some of the perks and little gains that you get in XCOM 2 are handled. But yeah, I've never seen anything that felt quite as good as this system. So I'm hoping someday somebody ends up copying it. But at any rate, I've rambled on about this enough. You guys have yourself a good one. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.